and welcome into the round table where today we're going to go over our usual Thursday good idea, bad idea. We've got Michael Vincent, we've got Thomas Wasson, Bill Priestley here with you. Gentlemen, shall we have at it for this week?
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
All right, number one. Right off the top, we just heard about this with Nikola and current CEO Mark Russell retiring, and Steve Girsky has picked Michael Lohscheller to run the show. Obviously, lots of stuff going on here with Nikola, and you can read a lot about it, of course, with Alan Adler's most recent articles. Read what you want to the Russell retiring, at least, or possibly at least wanting to get out of the business. Good idea or bad idea right now? Changing leadership at the top during what has to be the most turbulent time in Nikola's short history. Would you want to stay there and be a part of the fight, or would you want to take off and retire as Russell is doing? Mr. Vincent, I'll start with you, sir.
I don't run from a fight, but I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, it depends on the size of the guy. I might pull out the gun and shoot him like
he did
Indiana
obviously do
Jones
some great things. Yeah, he did do some great. I mean,
he did a lot of great stuff.
He brought in the Romeo Power deal.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. Russell kicks some butt, and to Lohscheller's credit as well, he's a lot of their success so far in turning it around has been due to Lohscheller as well, who's got a tremendous amount of experience, and he's done well. And he's worked with Girsky before, right? So a pick from Girsky is not shocking because they have a history of success in Europe in electric vehicles as well. Obviously he turned, I don't know if he turned around Opel, but he definitely led them to their sustainability in their electric, right? He did some great jobs there. I think I agree with Alan Adler in the assessment that, Russell stayed around long enough to get this proxy done, and turning it over at this time seems to make sense to me. I think it's a great pick.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna replace somebody, now is a pretty decent time to do it. I mean, it's also kind of a sleight of. Yeah, not a sleight of hand, but it is a hey, whatever goes on with Trevor Milton and stuff like that. That's really not our deal.
Gotcha.
It's a separation type of thing. Ignoring that and going on with the news, I think, is a smart deal too. So I'm going to go good idea.
Thomas Wasson, good idea to switch leadership midstream.
I think it's a great idea. Just like if you watch Reservoir Dogs, you got to call in a cleaner. Right now, you got a big mess. Milton laid a big mess. You bring in a specialist, you get it clean, and then you know what? He doesn't stay. He rolls out. It's a great move because you've got an established track record between both of them. It's in trusted hands, and for investors, after dealing with all the drama and the silliness, there's stability. I don't think if I'm an investor, I see that, he's departing, we're bringing someone else in. Well, it's more of a continuation. So, in my opinion, great idea. Sometimes you got to clean up a mess, but at the same time, know when you want to head out on top and move on to the next project.
All right, moving on. Drone manufacturer FLYTREX has got FAA approval to send its drones out to 2 nautical miles from originally 1 nautical mile. This is a last mile service that is operating in Texas in 3 spots in North Carolina: Holly Springs, Rayford, and Fayetteville, North Carolina. Do either of you know anything about Fayetteville, North Carolina?
I know there's a large facility there in trucking. Fayetteville has maybe lumber, some large distribution centers. I mean, there's some stuff going on in North Carolina.
Should we know something about it?
Well, it's the civilian end of Fort Bragg, which is the largest military facility in the country, and Rayford is actually just south of Fort Bragg. So good idea or bad idea to start sending drones perhaps out in an area where a lot of military personnel are?
I think it's a great idea because the military is going to say, hey, what are you hauling in that? Oh, now put a grenade in that.
Can we add good luck?
Yeah. We're going to test our missiles here. How good's your missile defense in Fort Bragg? Oh, there's a drone. Keeps them busy. Usually the old joke in the Army was you went to West Point on a football scholarship, then you ended up in missile defense. So at least those guys are hanging out, finally get some excitement.
Like the idea of sending...
specifically in Fayetteville or overall?
We're just in Fayetteville because of the military connection.
I don't think it makes any difference.
Okay.
They've obviously talked to
obviously go around the base.
Yeah, they're obviously not going to be delivering cheese dogs to the barracks.
I've actually lived in Fayetteville, and you do hear the artillery shelling every single day out there.
It's a great test.
It is. It's a great test. If it works there, it's going to work anywhere.
Yeah.
Number 3, turning slightly more serious, C.H. Robinson. the Supreme Court case against them. Ryan Schreiber wrote about this and appeared on FreightWaves.com. This was a decision by the Supreme Court that said a person in a passenger vehicle involved in an accident with a carrier can sue both the carrier and the broker, and the broker is not protected under F4A regulations. Schreiber states he would not be surprised if the carrier, broker, and the shipper are named in future suits. Good idea or bad idea to allow suits to cover the entire load transaction, Mr. Vincent?
Wow, this one has got so many things to unpack from it, right? I don't like just frivolous lawsuits, and I'm kind of a fan of, hey, if you sue somebody and you lose.
Just to clarify, in the C.H. Robinson case, this was the case where a passenger in a passenger vehicle became a quadriplegic after a wreck with a carrier. So that's the reason for the suit in the first place.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I mean, I guess not frivolous lawsuits, but just naming people in hopes of something sticking is not good, no matter what it was, right? In my opinion, right? So, but being able to, yes, if you can prove that there's a reason to sue that person, right? If you can show that there is a reason to sue the broker, then yeah, they should be involved too. If you can somehow show that they had some type of negligence or nefarious activity that caused them to hire a carrier or a driver that they should have known would have put people in jeopardy, then yeah, I think you should be able to do that, right? And just protecting them blanket is not a good idea, but also just being allowed to just sue anybody is also not a good idea. I don't know if that qualifies as an answer or not.
Yeah. Mr. Watson?
Depends on who you ask. If I'm a law firm, I'm going to think, great idea. I'm going to go up the value chain. I'm looking to get more money. Oh, let's just go grab the broker, and let's grab the shipper while we're at it. 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Why don't we do that? But I'm going to say bad idea, just because when we do legislation, we want to have incentives. What are we incentivizing here? Are we really, if the motor carrier is acting negligent, if the motor carrier causes this, the motor carrier deserves to have their authority revoked. They deserve to be punished. But are we going to also punish the broker and the shipper who are separated by various degrees when you're, trusting this carrier to do their job? It's a very shaky ground. I don't know if this law is going to have much legs to stand on, just because the fact of the matter is that do we want to have situations where it goes from a $150 million settlement to Werner to a $1 billion settlement, including Werner, C.H. Robinson, Kraft Foods distributor, some random manufacturer in China that sent it overseas, and by the way, the shipping company. Let's follow this thought to its logical conclusion and might as well make the entire value chain liable for the actions of a bad carrier.
Can I respond?
Sure.
I would say that you're not following it to its logical conclusion. You're following it to its ridiculous conclusion. Because, and just for this, right? Because the manufacturer scenario like that doesn't, I mean, if the broker chose that carrier and you can show that that carrier is known or would have been risky, I think knowing whether that broker or whomever hired that load, you could show that they were trying to save a few bucks and hope that things went well. I mean, there's an incentive there too, right?
I like that point.
So that's the only point that I would say there. Otherwise, I agree with you 100% because you can get absolutely crazy. The slippery slope is huge on this.
The famous last words were "just send it" for the
Well, who's cheapest? Let me make some margin on this, and hopefully they make it there. You get.
Quickly, let's run to number 4 here. A story that came out this morning. The fertilizer industry wants carrier reforms, which include, among other things, reforming the rail service, which has been, rates are up 206% in the last 20 years, adjusting truck driver work rules, eliminating cross-border vaccination mandates, and repealing the Jones Act. Thank you. Let me have another. Good idea or bad idea to try and revolutionize the fertilizer supply chain in one fell swoop, sir?
Good idea. Rail's a national security issue. Fertilizer's a national security issue. If you don't know what's going on in the Taiwan Strait right now, I really want to make sure that my supply chain is able to handle issues. And if fertilizer, which a lot of it's manufactured in China, and you have situations with geopolitical issues, we need to get it fixed. The rail service is unacceptable. And the fact that we've incentivized this weird perverse thing where they have to make more margin versus more trains, at the end of the day, we need to take the high ground. Make sure the trains run on time. It's not hard. And the last guy who figured out in 1936 ended up in power.
Wow.
Interesting.
I'm 100% with him. I just can't say it any better. I'm trying to figure out what I can add to that. But amen. It's national security. I think the only thing that I would add to this is not just a question of fertilizer, although I agree with everything that Thomas Wasson just said. It is a Me Too thing, and there's a lot of other parts of the industry that are national security and would benefit from these from some of these changes. So changing it quickly, yes.
All right. And finally, a recent environmental report concerning the possible future merger of Kansas City Southern and Canadian Pacific Rail came out and said that there would be nominal impact except noise pollution. The merger would add 8 trains going between Laredo and Chicago, which means on average 22 and a half trains per day would make the route, or about 1 per hour. Good idea or bad idea, Mr. Vincent?
How many do we know how many are making that?
14 and a half right now, adding 8.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. But I mean, good idea or bad idea is I think is irrelevant. As how those communities are going to react to that. I mean, it's by community that is good. I think it's a good idea logistically.
Moving through rural areas, obviously you'd be fine with it.
Yeah, going through the rural areas. If I was living in those specific areas, I wouldn't be living next to the train tracks anyways. If you accidentally moved towards one and said, well, 14's cool, now they're going to 22, you got an issue with this. But I would ask you, what's the over-under on the number of schools that are going to be named KC? Kansas City Southern across there, and that'll tell you how important it is.
Mr. Watson.
Good idea. Final thought at the end of the day, we've already talked about poor rail service. We need to increase ways to get it. If you live next to railroad tracks, folks, you know what you're going to get if you get 8 more trains. I'm super sorry, but we have bigger fish to fry right now, and if we can get the rail situation fixed up, it can help with all the other problems going on.
Amen.
All right.
You might get that new middle school.
Possibly. Well, that's going to do it for Good Idea, Bad Idea. Thank you, 2 gentlemen. We'll see you perhaps next week, or actually maybe not. We'll see. I'm going to be on vacation. Ooh. We'll take a short break. We'll be back after this.